Why do our bodies age? In 1997, a French woman named Joan Connell passed away after 122 years and 164 days on this earth, making her the oldest known person in history. Her age was so astounding that a million appraised $1 million to anyone who could break her record. But reality, living to this age or beyond, is a feat that very few, maybe even no humans, are likely to accomplish. Humans' bodies just aren't built for extreme aging. Our capacity is set about 90 years. But what does aging really mean? And how does counteract this body's effort to stay alive? We know intuitively when it's been to age. For some, it means growing up, while for others, it's growing old. Yet finding a strict scientific definition of aging is a challenge. What we can say is that aging occurs when intrinsic and interactions with environments like sunlight and toxins in the air, water, and our diet, causing changes in the structure and function of the body's molecules and cells. Those changes in turn drive their decline and subsequently the failure of the whole organism. The exact mechanisms of aging are poorly understood, but recently scientists have identified 9 physiological traits, ranging from genetic changes to alteration in the cell's regenerative ability that play a central role. Firstly, as years pass, our bodies accumulate genetic damage in the form of DNA lesions. This occurs naturally when the body's DNA replicates, but also in non-dividing cells. Organoids called mitochondria are especially prone to this damage. Mitochondria produce adenosine triphosphate or ATP, the main energy source for all cellular processing. Plus, mitochondria regulates many different cell activities and play an important role in programming cell death. If mitochondrial function declines, then cells and later on whole organs deteriorate too. Other changes known to occur in expression patterns of genes, also known as epigenetic alterations that affect the body's tissues and cells. Genes silenced or expressed only at low level in newborn become prominent in old people, leading to developments of degenerative disease like Alzheimer's, which accelerates aging. Even we could avoid all these harmful genetic alterations, not even our own cells could save us. The fact remains that cellular regeneration, the very stuff of life, declines as we age. The DNA in our cells is packaged with the chromosomes, each of which having 2 protective regions at the extremity called telomeres. Those shorten every time cells replicate. When telomeres become too short, cells stop replicating and die, stalling the body's ability to renew itself. With age, cells increasingly grow senescence too, a process that holds the cell cycle in times of risk, like when cancer cells are proliferating. But the response also kicks in more as we age, holding cells grow and cutting short of their ability to replicate. Aging also involves the stem cells that rejoin in many tissues and have the property of dividing with them limit to replenish other cells. As we get older, stem cells decrease in number and tend to lose their regeneration potential, affect the tissue renewal, and maintenance organs' original functions. Other changes reverse around the cell's ability to function properly. As age, they stop being able to do quality control on proteins, causing the accumulation of damaged and potentially toxic nutrients, leading to excessive metabolic activity that could be fatal for them. Intercellular communication also slows, ultimately undermining the body's functionality. There's a lot we don't yet understand about aging. Ultimately, does longer life as we know it coming down to diet, exercise, medicine, or something else? Will future technology like cell repairing nanobots or gene therapy artificially extend our years? And do we want to live longer than we already do? Starting with 120 years as inspiration, there's no telling where curiosity might take us. want more. In 1997, a French woman named Joan Calment passed away after 122 years and 164 days on this earth, making her the oldest known person in history. Her age was so astounding that a millionaire pledges $1 million to anyone who could break her record. But in reality, living to this age or beyond is a feat that very few, maybe even no humans, are likely to accomplish. Humans' bodies just aren't built for extreme aging. Our capacity is set about 90 years. But what does aging really mean? And how does it counteract this body's effort to stay alive? We know intuitively what it means to age. For some, it means growing up, while for others, it's growing old. Yet finding a strict scientific definition of aging is a challenge. What we can say is that aging occurs when intrinsic processes and interactions with the environment, like sunlight and toxins in the air, water, and our diets, causing changes in the structure and function of the body's molecules and cells. Those changes in turn drive their decline, subsequently the failure of a whole organism. The exact mechanism of aging are poorly understood, but recently scientists have identified 9 physiological traits, ranging from genetic changes to alterations in a cell's regenerative ability that play a central role. Firstly, as years pass, our bodies accumulate genetic damage in the form of DNA lesions. These occur naturally when the body's DNA replicates, but also in non-binding cells. Organoids called mitochondria are especially prone to this damage. Mitochondria produce adenosine triphosphate or ATP, the main energy source for all cellular processes. Plus, mitochondria regulate many different cell activities and play an important role in preventing cell death. If mitochondrial function declines, the cells and maiden whole organs deteriorate too. Other changes are known to occur in the expression patterns of genes, also known as epigenetic alterations that affect the body's tissue and cells. Genes silenced or expressed only at low levels in newborns become prevalent in old people, leading to developments of degenerative diseases like Alzheimer's, which accelerates aging. Even if we could avoid all these harmful genetic alterations, not even our own cells could save us. The fact remains that cellular regeneration, the very stuff of life, declines as we age. The DNA in our cells is packaged with the chromosomes, each of which has 2 protective regions at the extremity called telomeres. Those shorten every time cells replicate. When telomeres become too short, cells stop replicating and die, slowing the body's ability to renew itself. With age, cells increasingly grow senescence too, a process that holds the cell cycle in time of risk, like when cancer cells are proliferating. But the response also kicks in more as we age, holding cells grow and cutting short their ability to replicate. Aging also involves the stem cells that reside in many tissues and have the property of dividing within limit to replenish other cells. As we get older, stem cells decrease in number and tend to lose their regenerative potential, affecting tissue renewal and making less our organs' original functions. Other changes revolve around the cell's ability to function properly. As they age, they stop being able to do quality control on proteins, causing the accumulation of damaged and potentially toxic nutrients, leading to excessive metabolic activity that could be fatal for them. Intercellular communication also slows, ultimately undermining the body's functional ability. There's a lot we don't yet understand about aging. Ultimately, does longer life as we know it come down to diet, exercise, medicine, or something else? Will future technologies like cell-repairing nanobots or gene therapy artificially extend our years? And do we want to live longer than we already do? Starting with 122 years as inspiration, there is no telling where our curiosity might take us.